Okay, today we're going to talk about direct energy weapons, DEWs. They may be the cause of the California fires. I'm going to take you through a few videos. First, we're going to start with Barry Trower. He is a Royal Navy microwave weapons expert, and it's good stuff, so hang in there. Thank you. Okay, here we go.
Joined the Royal Navy in 1960, and I specialised in microwave warfare. Radar, obviously, which uses microwave, but they don't just teach you radar, they teach you all about microwaves and other uses. So I understood about microwave warfare and how it can damage people, how it can harm people. And when I finished with the Royal Navy, I was also a diver in the Royal Navy, and microwaves I used in underwater mines as booby traps. Which actually got me interested, because I was actually taking a bomb to pieces underwater, and it was too complicated. And I brought it to the surface, and my partner that was on the surface said, "Don't be an idiot, take it back down." He said, "If somebody's beaming you with microwaves, they'll go right through you, and as you open the casing, trigger a photoelectric cell, and it'll blow all of us up." And he said, "If it doesn't go through to the bomb, it'll aim it at your head and make you make a mistake." And that's really got me interested from that point, because I thought, well, how can microwaves going into your brain make you make a mistake? And I asked a lot of questions. I have a very curious brain. And the forces, they're very good at explaining things and telling you things. So I did that, and I also did a medical course when I was in to help me understand everything. And when I left, a small part of my job was to question captured agents, spies, terrorists, because microwaves then were used as weapons as they are today. It is a perfect stealth weapon, and when governments don't like a group of people, for instance, the ladies who protest at Greenham Common in England about the American missile base they camped, they were microwaved. We microwaved Catholics in Northern Ireland to make them sick. It goes on all over the world, and it's a weapon that you don't know you're being targeted, because the dose is very, very low, which is actually more dangerous than a high dose. It's very, very low, and it may take a year or two, but you can cause neurological damage and cancers with low-level microwaves, and you can make all your opponents sick. It's a perfect weapon for a government to use. So that was going on, and I gathered all the information about that from people who were captured from other countries to find out what technologies they had, what pulse frequencies they used. But as I stressed, it was only a small part of my work, but because I was highly trained in it and I was useful, it just became a part of my working structure, along with master criminals and terrorists and all sorts of people that I found incredibly interesting, actually, to talk to. Very, very interesting. And then when I left there, I took a job teaching, and I taught advanced level physics, and I specialised in nuclear and atomic radiation, and again microwaves. And I've just always been in microwaves. And then it was a doctor. I went to see a doctor once, as most teachers do, with a sore throat. And he said, as most doctors do, "It's viral, there's nothing I can do for you." And I was leaving. And he said, "Hang on, Barry," he said, "you're a physicist." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Can you explain something?" He said, "I went to a house that had a cot death 5 years ago. And the family moved, and a new family moved in. They had a new baby. The cot was in exactly the same place, and there was another cot death. And he said, 5 years apart. And he said, there's a transmitter the other side of the child's bedroom wall. Could the transmitter cause the cot death? And I said, I don't know. I said, but I'll look into it. And then I found that microwaves were involved, and I knew what microwaves did. And a while later, I went back to the doctor, I wrote a paper on it, and I said, there's your answer. Microwaves can cause cot death by 2 or 3 different mechanisms. There's your answer. And then, for some reason, he told somebody who told somebody, and people started phoning me up and writing to me, saying, can you explain this, or can you help with that? I've never actually asked anyone if I can do anything. They always come to me. And then the police came to me and said, we're getting this new Tetra airwave system. We don't understand what's happening. Can you read all this scientific rubbish and just put it into Janet and John and tell us? And I said, of course I can. So that was published, and since then it snowballed and snowballed and snowballed, and now I receive up to 1,000 communiques a week from various countries, various people, and I can't handle it. So, and I'm here now because somebody asked me to come here. Wi-Fi, I think anyone who puts Wi-Fi into a school should be locked up for the rest of their life. I really do. I think they're not fit to walk on the surface of this planet because they haven't looked at the research, and whatever incentive they have, it is not worth the genetic problems that parents are going to face with their children when they're born. And if you think of a single parent, a mother, who has a genetically deformed child, that particular mother will feel guilty because she gave birth. She will feel guilty, and she will be worried every single second of every single day for her life. She will worry that the child won't marry. If the child can marry, she'll worry that the children will carry the disease, which they will. She will worry when she dies who will take care of them. So you are condemning both the family and the children to a lifetime of absolute hell. And this is already published. It is available to look up. It's what I call intentional ignorance. They are offered some sort of incentive, and they think, oh, this is going to be good, we'll have it. Now, the problem is, imagine you are a 15-year-old schoolgirl. All of the 400,000 eggs in your ovaries were with you at birth. They're not fully developed, but they're with you. They are 10 times more susceptible to radiation than all of the other DNA in the body. And scientists don't realize that. They don't read all of the papers as I do. So you have this highly susceptible genetic material which is going to make your children. And you are irradiating it because Wi-Fi's, they are transmitters as well as the routers, as well as the ones either side of you. They are all transmitting at this height through your ovaries. So you are risking the damage, the DNA damage of your child every time you sit down and you use Wi-Fi. And it's like saying, if I smoke a cigarette, which one will cause the damage? The answer is I don't know. It could be the one today. So you now have a child that has a probability of being genetically damaged. But the real damage is when that child grows up You have genetic material in your ovaries which could be damaged. Now, the real problem comes, so you have a child that could be born genetically damaged, but the real problem comes when you become pregnant. If you are a teacher or a mature student and you become pregnant, because the embryo inside your womb, in the first 100 days, all of those 400,000 eggs are forming in your embryo, your child's ovaries. So your child could be born with genetically damaged eggs. And the main thing about the eggs in the ovaries of your child is that they have absolutely no protection. It hasn't been developed yet. We have a natural protection against microwaves. It was developed since the Stone Age against thunderstorms and massive amounts of radiation coming into our body. But in your embryo, your uterus, in the fetus, where your child is developing for the first 100 days, in the ovaries, the eggs do not have that protection. So they are at maximum risk from radiation. And for the first month or so, you wouldn't even know you were pregnant. You wouldn't even be taking precautions. That is the main danger area. So you give birth to a daughter, but her ovaries are now contaminated. She may be normal, she may be genetically damaged, but her ovaries are at the most risk. So when your daughter grows up and she becomes pregnant and has a baby, this is where one of these eggs will be fertilized and come out. So the real damage here is your grandchildren. That is where it is going to show most. And we already see this in animals that have reproductive cycles of a year or 2 years or 3 years. We're already seeing this, and it has been published by veterinary schools and vets and scientists, so we know this happens. And it's also been documented in the Cold War when women were deliberately microwaved. So we know it does happen. The documents are there. And what you're risking by putting Wi-Fi into schools is the future generations of all of these girls. But it gets worse, because this particular DNA, the mitochondrial DNA inside you, and the DNA inside you, the mitochondrial DNA, you can trace unchanged to your mother, her mother, her mother, right the way back to the beginning of the human race in Africa, the Stone Age. You can trace your ancestors, if you could, right back to the very first lady. It is unchanged, the mitochondria, and that is being unchanged in your children.
Okay, you did hear what he said towards the end there, genetically damaged children because of these Wi-Fi units being too close to the schools. Well, it's all part of the agenda to reduce the population. And we're going to get into all of that, but right now I'm going to show you another clip on the microwave weapons. Okay, here we go with the next clip. Check this out.
These service personnel playing the role of an unruly mob at Georgia's Moody Air Force Base are about to fall prey to an invisible ray. The hulking panel atop this Humvee is part of what the U.S. military calls the Active Denial System, or ADS. It's designed to incapacitate enemy combatants with an unnerving, non-lethal sensation of intense heat. Watch as the ray silently strikes and scatters the crowd.
The active denial system has three great characteristics. First of all, it's safe. Second, it's effective. And third, it has a tremendous range compared to the other non-lethal weapons that today's warfighter has.
This is the heart of this 100 kilowatt transmitter. This is the gyrotron. 200 kilowatts of electricity is fed in, and 100 kilowatts of radio frequency comes out.
I send this at the speed of light. It's crazy.
Comes out an aperture underneath the main reflector, hits the subreflector, which illuminates that main reflector and sends a roughly antenna-sized beam downrange. Those holes that you see in the antenna are for the cameras and other visual equipment that the operator uses so that he knows exactly where that beam is going.
It's operated by a joystick. The operator looks into the console, sees exactly what that antenna is aimed at, moves the joystick left, the antenna slews to the left, same way to the right. Then when there's an individual who's identified as a troublemaker, he has a cursor. He can put that cursor on that individual, pull the trigger that's on the joystick, and the energy is sent downrange at the speed of light.
The electromagnetic radiation released by the active denial system is similar to the microwaves in your microwave oven. It causes the water molecules in the target to become excited and heat up. But that's where the similarity ends. The ADS is designed to heat only the very surface of the skin. It does this by outputting only the carefully chosen radio wave frequency of 95 gigahertz. Even though it can easily penetrate clothing, the ADS generates a much shorter and safer wavelength of radio waves than those used in microwave ovens.
The active denial system millimeter wave directed energy beam reaches 1/64th of an inch into human skin. So that is the outermost layer of the skin, roughly equivalent to about 3 sheets of notebook paper. It is essentially affecting the pain nerves in the outermost layer of the skin, heating them up and causing an immediate repel effect.
Even these stoic servicemen, aware of what's about to happen,
Engage.
can't help but flinch when they feel the heat.
This is the first time I've experienced the beam from the active denial system, and it feels like an intense warmth feeling, kind of similar to opening a very hot oven door, and it's a compelling feeling that you want to get out of the way of this beam. If you were not expecting this, it would definitely shock you and make you want to move.
The ADS represents just the latest effort to devise an effective ray weapon.
Okay, now you have some idea how it's possible and how it operates, the microwave weapons that are out there. So now I want to show you how I believe they were used in the California fires. Hold on to your hats.
Well, that's your proof positive, folks. We don't need to have any more evidence of directed energy weapons from the sky being used to kill and murder and blow up houses from the sky. You see the blue. You see the blue light. You see the lasers coming down, torching one area, moving to another. You can see the beams coming down. And here are some of the companies that are doing it, publicly traded, Lockheed, turning up the heat. Latest evolution of Lockheed Martin laser weapon systems stops truck in field test. This was in 2015. 30 kilowatt fiber laser weapon successfully disabled the engine of a small truck known as a FINA for Advanced Test High Energy Asset. The ground-based prototype system burned through engine manifold in a matter of seconds from more than a mile away. Fiber optic lasers are revolutionizing directed energy systems. We are investing in every component of the system, from the optic and the beam control to the laser itself, to drive size, weight, and power efficiencies. The test represents the next step to providing lightweight and rugged laser weapon systems for military aircraft, helicopters, ships, and trucks, and may I add, drones. All right. Demonstration marked the field test of integrated 30 kilowatt single mode fiber laser based system prototype, headquartered in Bethesda, Maryland. Lockheed Martin is a global security and aerospace company that employs 112,000 people. Corporation's net sales in 2014 were $45.6 billion. So this is case closed as far as evidence that this was a directed energy attack. And let's break this down. You see the blue, so we said the blue flashes, here's your blue, and you can see it coming at an angle. It looks almost like a 45-degree angle, and the white hot flame is incinerating. But watch the blue move to the right, from right to left, move to the right, their frame, and move along as it torches the areas, and then the blue increases. See how then it ignites, and then it turns into this white hot and yellow, and it gets brighter and brighter, but you can still see that there is still some energy coming from the sky. See how it's lighting it up and intensifying it, and there's that blue again. You got the blue again as it's hitting more areas. It's just zapping it, zzz, 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 microwaving the area. And you see the refraction, the reflections going on, and then you got that blue smoke coming out of it as well. But here's your blue light evidence, and then boom, it sparks off of that. And you can see it's an offshoot from another light coming, another laser coming from the side, it appears to be. And then you got the white hot again occurring, but the blue is continuing on from the right to left in the screen, showing it's going down, just torching, but the area has been ignited to the right there, and then the blue light turns off. And then you've got this smoky, white hot flame, just like we saw the burning tree, just in a concentrated area. But then you're seeing these flashes, and then it stops, and then another flash. And then it comes in, and then there's another torch going on. And boom, look at that. You see that right there? Wow, it just exploded, and it's like it's shooting out, like there was something in there that was exploding and being shot out of the sides of this while the lasers hit it, apparently. And then we have this shot here of the blue again, directed energy being brought from the sky and just hitting the targets it wants. Now, people will say maybe it's smart meters, maybe it's not, but we have clear prima facie evidence that this is directed energy attacks, folks. We do not need to go any further and ask any more questions whether or not we are being attacked with directed energies from the sky. This is a militarized operation. They're trying to hide and cloak who's doing this, but it doesn't matter. We're under attack all around the world, and no one is safe. This is prima facie evidence. Please share with everyone you know and love. So as I said, we have more than ample evidence, and these pictures here were provided from people from Paradise that were actually at the scene and saw blue lights flashing. Blue lights were so bright they could not look at it. Many people said they did see blue lights flashing, as I did, not flashing, but I did see blue in the sky during the attacks in October of 2017 here in Santa Rosa. But clearly you can see on these trees the blue at the top and not at the bottom. And then this imagery here is what we see. You don't see the flames of fires whatsoever. You just see this orange reddish glow, which many people are familiar with who have seen this. And then we have the famous burning tree of Paradise Center, where the tree is still standing, yet it was torched. And there's your lasers coming in from the sides, which I just did a video on yesterday. But the lasers have been around for a very, very long time. And they've been able to use this technology in a highly advanced state for using their vision for 2020. U.S. Air Force dominates space by 2020, a U.S. Air Force report. But here we see the pictures, we see the photographs, we have evidence all over from lasers coming from the sky Yet they're trying to tell us now these are fire NATOs, the first time in the new abnormals that we're seeing fire NATOs, when clearly they are laser-directed energy weapons. These weapons are being weaponized and they're genociding and killing all around the world now, folks. How much more evidence do we need? And then we have shills that are saying, oh, it can't be that because it would have to have been seen by many. Well, where's this guy now when we've got all the pictures, Dane Wiggleton? Where's all the pictures? And the other thing is the lasers are very small. In fact, you can go into a 7-Eleven and you can buy a pinpoint laser for a few bucks and you can shine it up into the pilot's eyes that can blind them up at 2,000 feet. That's how advanced the technology is. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming and it's very basic technology. And what do you think the military's been able to work on for such a long time? Directed energy 2020 paradigm, Vision 2020 coming out, and they're just promoting it. And it's in our faces now. It's full disclosure. They're not trying to hide it anymore. And they can also use it in non-lethal microwave weapons as well to call illness, paranoia, depression, manic behavior, and the zombie apocalypse if they wanted to. But it's based on our fears and our angers. So we must be with love in our hearts. But getting back to the lasers and the blue lights, this was a shot that came during the fire someone sent to me in Santa Rosa, and people said, oh, yeah, that's a made-up photograph. No, it's not. We now know, we have evidence that it's not. It's lasers that are being used to attack us from above. And again, the military, the world military, it's not the U.S. military, it's the world military. Their one world power is using their lasers to attack people in the United States, in South America, in China, in Canada. This is a pause microwave. It is massive. Look at how big those things are. What do you think they're being used for, folks? They're being used to direct microwave energy using radio frequencies. This is above Chico, showing the scattered radars, how they're using it to direct energy. And then here's the photographs that were sent to me with lights in the sky. Now, are these the directed energy crafts that are doing it? I know from a guy that's on the inside that they are able to use drones, and they use drones in the attacks in Santa Rosa. And here in Paradise, we can see the laser attacks on the hills, scarring the hills. It can only been done by lasers. It's just the evidence is overwhelming. So let's not talk anymore about if, but now that it's happening, we need to talk about what we're going to do about it. And the first thing is always to wake up. And once we wake up, it's our responsibility to educate, inform, and alert. Here's the ignition switch that comes from the ground up. So it's not just lasers. This is from Paradise, but it's also ground attacks, underground lightning as well. It's a multi-pronged attack. So we can't just say it's directed energy being done from above. They are also using VLF and ULF, very low frequency and ultra low frequencies, to use tomography, ground penetrating, underground weapon systems as well, lightning, to cause some of the infliction. But again, the common sense, if the hottest fires and forest fires burn at 1,500 degrees, how are these bridges that take 2,500 degrees to melt? I mean, cultivate your common sense. And then we see total destruction except for the plastic. Why is the plastic? Because it's microwave safe. That's why you can put plastic in a microwave. I mean, how much more evidence do we need to see that this was an attack done with using directed energy lasers? I'm sorry, but we need to get this through our heads, that these attacks are coming fast and furious, and they're not going to stop just because we're getting awake. We must first come awake, and then we must take action, and we must get numbers, enough people. This is Cardinal Newman Ball Field. Laser surgery across Cardinal Newman Ball Field in Santa Rosa. Trees being burnt from the inside. Now, is that the underground lightning causing that from all the deskins of aluminum? We don't know yet, but this is not a forest fire when they can target some homes and leave others. The other thing we saw is ample evidence up in Paradise of these holes in the ground everywhere. Like they were torched down, and these go down like a few feet in some places, not a few feet, maybe about 15, 20 inches into the ground, round, like they were pulsed lasers going into the ground. And then check out this shot here. This is an old chainsaw, but it took the engine out, but you can still see the metal of the chainsaw. It was directed. It's highly focused. And then we have these pictures, folks. If this doesn't wake everybody up, I don't know what will. How can it hit those houses and not the others right next door?
Oh,
Does this make any sense to anybody that this was a forest fire? Challenge your fire departments. Take these to fire captains. The firemen are in danger. They've never seen this kind of new abnormal, as Jerry Brown calls it. They're putting themselves in harm's way, where they're going to be affected by these super temperatures and this toxic.
What is that? What's going on there?
Aftermath of what comes out of this stuff. And then you can see the cars. I mean, the cars are directed. They focus an energy beam. They can target your LoJack. They can target your OnStar. They can target you through your smartphone. They can even target you through the chips in your credit cards. But here's 9/11, justification. Judy Woods, where are you? We need you. Get back here. We need you. Where are you coming? This is a fire engine right parked outside of 9/11. Are you kidding me? You're going to say that was caused by 9/11? Or how about down in Malibu, where the car's torched, but the house is completely fine? It's directed. They decided where they wanted to do it, and then they hit it. Why is that car the only one on fire up in paradise?
Directed energy weapons.
3,000 pounds be flipped on their roof by a forest fire? How can the trees still be standing? The temperatures they use is high temperatures. Okay. Now, if metal and steel melt at 2,500 degrees or so, to have it dustified like it does would take much higher pulsed energy that can just rip the thing apart. And here we've seen cars being parked on the side of the road where they pulled over. And here's someone waiting for gas. Folks, keep your gas tanks full, please. That's what everybody said. The big problem was they didn't have enough gas. And take a look at these pictures. Here's a covered aluminum shed. A covered aluminum shed. And the car underneath is torched. And the trees in the background are fine. But the car, the X means they've checked the car for dead bodies. We'll get into that in another one. But the cars were absolutely torched. Here we see the same scenario again. We've got a covered shed roof, yet the car is torched underneath it. Again, this is just prima facie evidence of directed energy attack. And check this out. This was in Paradise the other day where I went with Christine, and this was at the acute center off of Pence Road here. Look at these cars. The one next to it is completely torched, but two cars parked not 10 feet away. The front plastic is melted, and the cars are fine. I mean, how can this happen, folks, where the plastic and the car light is melted, yet right 10 feet away, the other cars are completely torched? And another thing, folks, is they really don't care to warn you that you're going to get out. The cell phones did not work in Santa Rosa. They did not work in Paradise, even though everybody was told to sign up. They let the pets die. They would not let people in to help them. They pulled people over the sides of the roads, possibly using LoJack or OnStar, so they could torch them in their cars. The car doors are closed. They didn't get out. But they're calling this a forest fire. This is a mobile home park. They love to hit the elderly. And then this hell on earth, 60 minutes, hell on earth, the Paradise Inferno with the bread and circuses football game in the background. There's too many people, they think. They need to get rid of them. This is the extermination process, I'm sorry to say, but it's happening not just all over California, but everywhere. And then you got Trump going to Paradise and saying it's a pleasure, because Biff is Trump, and Back into the Future movie. So in closing, I want to end with Larkin Rose, a true hero.
Okay, we're going to play this one last clip here, and I want you to definitely research this stuff yourself. You're going to hear a lot of with eyes to see. For me, what I believe that means is when I came to God, I asked to be shown these type of things that I'm looking at now, and boy, did He open up my eyes. So if you're not there, you know, I'd advise you to ask the Lord into your heart at this time. But please pay attention to what I'm about to show you and do your own research so you can find out this stuff is true. Thank you. God bless. Okay, hang tight. Let's get this to play, and here we go.
Hey guys, it's 11:30 a.m. on October 10th, 2017, and I just wanted to go over some basic facts with you guys about fires. The average house fire burns at a temperature of about 1100 degrees Fahrenheit, which isn't hot enough to destroy most metals and earthly-made substances. And if an item is well placed and small in size, its chances of survival increase drastically. Let's take a look at the burning point of a couple of materials. Glass burns at around 2600 to 2900 degrees Fahrenheit, which is more than double the regular temperature of house fires or forest fires. Let's see what we can find out about aluminum. Aluminum melts at around 1220 degrees. Some alloys burn a little bit hotter, around 1900 degrees. Now let's take a look at what the National Institute of Fire Safety and Safety Training say what will not generally burn in a house fire. Jewelry, because it's metal. Silver coins, because they're metal. Filing cabinets. Steel filing cabinets are built to last so that businesses won't have to deal with the loss of important files after building fires. Many people keep personal documents in filing cabinets, which are often kept in home offices. And it says here that silver burns around 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's go down to barbecue grills, cookware, some appliances, stone table, fire safes. Let's see, it says here about tools. The melting point of carbon steel is between 2600 and 28 degrees Fahrenheit. And the melting point of stainless steel is roughly 2700 degrees. So you're not going to see your barbecues melt. You're not going to see your ovens and your most of your appliances. They're not going to melt. They'll be burned, they'll be damaged, but they're not going to melt. It's common to find an appliance or two that remains intact. There's chaos around there, but many appliances these days are made with stainless steel, which gives them a sleek and design durability. So a lot of people have these things, but the metal, the frame itself of these things is not going to melt. So let's take a peek at what happened here. Well, let me just show you some pictures here of normal house fires. What's usually left afterwards? There's a bunch of rubble and everything's black. Usually the frames of the buildings stand. And there's a bunch of crap around the trees, or around the place, buildings. The frame of the building stays intact. The entire building does not disappear. There's still debris. There's a huge debris field after these things. You see, there's like gutters and stuff. And the wood, even though it does burn, it doesn't totally burn. Now, this is white stuff from what they put the fire out with, but generally you see that all of these houses, every one of them is black. Now, this car is right next to a fire, and it still has glass. Its wheels are still intact. This thing actually burned, but it didn't melt the tires. It didn't melt the glass in the vehicle. You see all the rubble? This is just rubble, because these places implode. After the structure falls apart, it collapses. But you still see they're all singed. They're all black. And even in the forest fires, the trees themselves are still black. And you can see, you have bricks on the bottom, and not all the aluminum siding or vinyl siding melts. Look at the structure, the outward frame of the house still stands. But that's not what we see in these crazy forest fires. The entire thing is just disappear. Should be visible to people with eyes to see. Here's this neighborhood before. And I want you to look, you guys. There's absolutely nothing left. You don't see any part of any of the structures anywhere. This isn't possible. There's something else going on here.
Alleged to. Alleged to. Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're digging into laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now.
Laser has a power of 1 watt, and if you don't want to use your energy to strike your match, you can just hold it in the beam of light. A 1 watt laser can light a match. Imagine then the power of a 500 trillion watt laser. That's exactly what they built here at the National Ignition Facility in California. Engineers have just finished constructing the laser to end all lasers.
And now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right, lasers now.
This was from the military news. It's about aircraft laser-borne weaponry, a Boeing YAL-1. And look for the blue flashes, folks. That's what we saw in the skies. Those are the lasers being used, that they're pulsing the electromagnetic fields of plasmic energy that they excite with the winds in order to direct the directing field. See the blue? These are caused by these laser beams. And we'll get into the whole thing about lasers and when they're created here in a little bit. But look at the blue, folks. That's what many comments, and I saw it as well. We saw blue sparks or flashes in the sky. And that's what they were, is these little blue beams of laser energy. Right there, see it? That's what we saw. So this is proof pretty positive that this was a laser-directed energy weapons used on the Northern Cal fires here. This is in the coffee district here, which we're talking about, that got attacked. Notice they're completely obliterated. All right, so this is Santa Rosa in the area. This is pictures similar to the ones I took the other day in the coffee district area. Again, you can see the ridge fires coming up. Take a look at this, folks. See the stone block wall? It's all gone, folks. The heat had to be enough to melt the wall. Columns were melted. Wrought iron steel melted. No glass. 2,600 degrees to melt glass. No glass. How about metal tires? We saw the rims, and there's no rubber at all on any of the tires. The rubbers were completely gone. Well, here it says in sciencing, if you put a rubber tire in a furnace, even a hot one, it won't melt. The tires are vulcanized, which means they're through a process that combines the rubber molecules with carbon and other elements to prevent them from oxidizing or burning. That's why hot rodders can burn rubber without setting anything on fire. And the fires are said to merge. They're bringing people down, firemen from Idaho, Washington, Oregon. They're planning it to merge and continue on. This is a picture from down the road. There's a Hilton Hotel, or it was the Hilton Hotel, and the Fountain Grove Inn right below it, which was. But look at the steel. Look at the steel melted and twisted, folks. That means the temperatures was above 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. It wasn't a firestorm because it happened right away.
This was a USA something wildfires. This is a new trend we're seeing where the entire building just disappears. There's absolutely nothing left, and that's what we're seeing again here. And this is becoming a growing trend, guys. There's no explanation for it. I want to show you a couple of things here that should really be visible to people with eyes to see. Here's the building. Here's this neighborhood before. And I want you to look, you guys. There's absolutely nothing left. You don't see any part of any of the structures anywhere. This isn't possible. There's something else going on here. Something else going on here. The entire building. Everything's gone but the trees. One washing machine. But where are the granite countertops? Where are the glass doors? Where's any of the metal framing? Where's the bricks? Where's any of the stuff that held these houses together? And why isn't there any rubble? But the tree is still standing, and the grasses are still here. But the cars that were left have no glass. They're all smashed to pieces. Look at this, the garbage cans. Come on, guys, all the garbage cans are here. But look at the cars. Look at the condition of these vehicles. Look at this. This is all smashed and bent. And look at the twigs on the ground. These things should have caught on fire. How come there's pine needles and stuff all in the path? Why isn't there anything seen whatsoever but the trees? This is supposed to be forest fire. How come the forest didn't catch on fire? Not even the tree branches. Look at, there's just twigs and stuff everywhere. Why did the twigs not burn? But every single solitary piece of 2x4 that built these houses is standing. I mean, isn't standing, it's gone. It's all disappeared. There's no aluminum siding, there's no bricks, there's nothing.
Okay, I'm going to play one last clip here for you. Pretty much will sum it up for you, and I'll see you at the end. God bless you. Alright, here we go, full screen.
Supernatural looking glow lighting up the night sky over New York.
It's not supposed to look like that.
That mysterious blue-green haze sparking chaos and confusion across the city.
You look in the sky and it was bright blue.
From brilliant blue light outside to total blackout inside, seen in this video courtesy of EarthCam, sent LaGuardia Airport into darkness.
The entire building goes black and then everyone is crowding around a window and I see this white, blue, really large ball of light.
The New York City sky lit up in a supernatural shade of blue.
It looked like it was daytime. You look in the sky and it was bright blue.
The New York City skyline glowing in an extraterrestrial halo of blue in video courtesy of EarthCam. The supernova shades took over the night sky for about 4 minutes. So bright, even seen from New Jersey. Some dubbing the phenomenon Astoria Borealis.
Can I ask you a question about some of the technology that you're developing to fight the war on terror, specifically directed energy and high-powered microwave technology? When do you envision that you can weaponize that type of technology?
Goodness. It is in, for the most part, the kinds of things you're talking about are in varying early stages. Do you have anything you'd add?
I don't think I would add much. I think they are in early stages and probably not ready for employment at this point.
In the normal order of things, when you invest in research and development and begin a developmental project, you don't have any intention or expectations that one would use it. On the other hand, the real world intervenes from time to time, and you reach in there and take something out that is still in a developmental stage, and you might use it. And your question's not answerable.
Hi, Steve here. The more you're awakened to what's really going on in this world, the more you realize that this world system and those who really run things are not looking out for you and me and humanity in general. We're watching this fiasco, this political ping pong going on in America. But these people aren't only disrespecting President Trump, they're basically thumbing their nose at the American people. And they could care less about you or your family or the people that they supposedly represent. This whole border wall security thing, it's not about Democrats and Republicans in this political battle. It's not about personal egos or even political posturing. It's about those who really control America in the deep state, who want either total control back or they're willing to watch America go down in history as a once great nation, a once great country. They don't really care which it is, but they won't settle for less than either one. This is in line with their agenda anyway, which is depopulation, and whatever it takes to accomplish that, they will do it. The video I uploaded Friday about the warning to America is why Nancy Pelosi has fled the country in an attempt to avoid having to answer for her obvious obstruction to getting a deal for the border wall. This is why the president on Saturday outlined the reasons we need this done quickly, not just for more security, but for all the humanitarian issues that are happening at our borders. This goes beyond ego and childishness by Speaker Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. This really highlights the reality of how little they care about the things they claim to care about. They're blatant hypocrites, blatant liars, and if you want my opinion, they are outright traitors to you and me and this country.
We continue in the same situation that we've been in, which is that Republicans are absolutely committed to securing the border. We welcome the Democrats back from their weekend in the sun in Puerto Rico, and also would note that the president has once again, in addition to providing very detailed, specific line items in terms of the memo that he provided a couple of weeks ago, what's required for border security, has also now been reaching out, inviting Democrats from throughout their caucus to come to the White House to sit down, to talk, which is the only way that we're ever going to get to a place where we have an agreement. And the Democrats are refusing. They're saying no. While at the same time, we've got federal workers who now are not receiving paychecks. We've got a situation at the border that's got to be secured. The Democrats continue to put bills on the floor, which are bills that are not going to go anyplace and which fail to fundamentally respond to the kinds of things that the president has laid out that are necessary.
Rick Scott, our senator from Florida, just asked the question that a lot of us are asking, but don't seem to care enough about demanding they're held accountable.
This place does not work, Neil. It's completely dysfunctional. Here's what they say. You talk to people up here, everybody says, we need border security. We want government to open up, but we can't vote on it. We can't get any of this stuff done. You would never do this in your business life. And we didn't do it when I was a governor. And on top of that, they get paid. I'm a co-sponsor of a bill that says, you don't pass the budget, you don't get paid up here. Why would you get paid if you're not doing your job?
They're not above the law, but they act like they are, and we never voice a united front against that as a country. So they just keep on thumbing their nose at the American people and prove that all the elitists think they're untouchable by law, but have no problem taking your home away from you if you defy them. They write laws that they refuse to abide by. That's really not much different than a communist country. Only in America, they allow us to have the illusion that our vote matters. The globalist agenda is depopulation, plain and simple. They are using so many aspects of science and technology and modern warfare completely hidden from the public that even the things we see with our own eyes, we're told to deny what we see and think. We see the chemtrailing of our skies almost on a daily basis all over the world, and yet there are still people who just can't believe what their eyes see. We have the directed energy weapons literally destroying whole towns, like we saw in Southern California and Northern California. The sad thing is, they do it, and they don't seem to even want to hide it anymore. Have the American people been so dumbed down and grown so apathetic that they just don't care anymore to stand up to these destroyers of America? It goes against everything we want to believe. I know that. Because of the false paradigm that most Americans have fallen into, that government would never do anything to harm us, it's unfathomable for us to believe any of this as fact. We have many instances of our government using citizens and the military to experiment on, from everything from toxic bioweapons to mind control. The last 2 years have revealed much of the hidden evil in our government and in our media. It's not always easy to hear the truth, but staying naive and ignorant only makes it easier for those who hate us to destroy us. I don't have time to get into the geoengineered food we eat, the medical cartel's real goal of making money and deliberately keeping the cures for our good health from us. when most people trust them to help them find a cure for their problem. This nation is drugged and doped up so heavy that they can't see the forest for the trees anymore. Nikola Tesla didn't only have an electric car company named after him, but he was also a genius who drew up plans for a death ray and an earthquake machine. It's come out that HAARP and other weather modification technologies can also cause earthquakes. What a great little military weapon. These were bold and dangerous ideas that led him into conflict with big business and the government. He was paranoid, and he was fearful that his technology might end up in the wrong hands. So he buried 80 trunks of his findings in secret locations around the world. Then he was found dead in his New York hotel room. The FBI ransacked his laboratory immediately and his last known addresses. They seized his research and destroyed memoirs. And after that, memory of Tesla was erased from the public. For over 60 years, the items they recovered remained classified. Do you know what classified means? It means the government wants to keep secret from you what they know. Last year, a document that offered some clues as to the whereabouts of his research into weapons of mass destruction was de-restricted. Most likely because the government has already extracted all the technology they needed to use in their arsenal of weapons. They don't have a problem declassifying something that they put out after they've altered or changed the so-called information they release. Take a guess what technology they're going to roll out on the American people, on the world, without your permission. 5G.
Mr. Secretary General, UN staff have repeatedly been told that they are the most important resource of this organization. Since December 2015, the staff here at the Vienna International Center have been exposed to off-the-scale electromagnetic radiation from Wi-Fi and mobile phone boosters installed on very low ceilings throughout the buildings. Current public exposure levels are at least 1 quintillion, that's 18 zeros, 1 quintillion times above natural background radiation, according to Professor Olle Johansson of the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. The highly dangerous biological effects of EMFs have been documented by thousands of studies since 1932, indicating that we may be facing a global health catastrophe orders of magnitude worse than those caused by tobacco and cigarettes. Mr. Secretary General, on the basis of the precautionary principle, I urge you to have these EMF-emitting devices removed immediately from these buildings and to call a halt to any rollout of 5G at UN duty stations, because 5G is designed to deliver concentrated and focused electromagnetic radiation in excess of 100 times current levels in the same way as do directed energy weapons. 5G is designed to deliver concentrated and focused electromagnetic radiation in excess of 100 times current levels in the same way as do directed energy weapons. In line with the UN guiding principles on business and human rights, to protect, respect and remedy, 5G technologies must be subjected to an independent health and safety assessment before they are launched anywhere in the world. There is currently an international appeal signed by 237 EMF scientists from 41 nations urging the UN and particularly the WHO to exert strong leadership in fostering the development of more protective EMF guidelines, encouraging precautionary measures and educating the public about the considerable health risks, particularly the risks to children and fetal development.
They don't care who you are, if you're one of the little people, even if you're part of the UN. Did you hear what this lady said? They know the health danger, and yet they're doing it anyway. The problem is, the World Health Organization is just another globalist front organization, pretending to care about humanity's health, when in reality, they are part of the depopulation plan. The truth is, we are in the last days, and this is why America is under fierce attack. And when you live in a nation who's been deceived and never taught in school your true rights according to the Constitution as American citizens, it's much easier for the enemy to destroy you. think about it.
Okay, first thing I want to say to you is God bless you and your families. The evidence is pretty clear here. You've seen the videos, you've seen all the evidence. Now, we know that the government's using this technology, and we know that they're using it on the citizens of the United States. So I don't know about you, but I'm pretty fed up with it myself. And I've been looking into this for about a year now. And what I really have to say to you is this. Don't wait until this happens to you or someone you love. Because regardless what we do here, it's happening right before our eyes.